Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Chaz over at Book is Chaz, and I am joined by the amazing John and Jacob Minton from Talking Story. I'm really excited to be joined by them today, and especially because we are going to talk about their epic debut release, Discovery, Book One in the Strange Eons. Is this going to be a saga or a trilogy or not quite sure?
There's five planned books right now.
Ooh, five. I love it. All right. So the Strange Eons Quintet, or I mean,
Ooh, I like that. We
I
hadn't thought
like that.
about
Sounds
that.
fancy.
That sounds great. We might
Yeah.
steal that.
that one's free.
Everything from here on out is going to cost you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I just have to say, I absolutely enjoyed this book immensely, and I hope you guys will pick it up. I'll have all the links to this down in the description below where you can get it. And I've got several questions for John and Jacob. We will talk a little bit about their channel probably here and there, but I really want to focus on this amazing book. So, uh, I guess I'm just gonna kind of pitch these questions to both of you because you are both part of the writing team, and if you guys weren't aware, this is written by J.A.J. Minton, and the A is for Amy. She was not able to join us today, but Amy is John's lovely wife and Jacob's mother, and we are happy to give her credit with this book as well. So
Yeah, the
Oh
true
yeah.
brain trust. She's the
Oh
true,
yeah.
yeah.
the true brain trust. I
She
like
keeps the
that.
wheels rolling, honestly.
That is excellent. Yeah. Credit where credit's due, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Book would have never come out without her.
No.
Yeah, and I'll be very curious to find out some of what that process was like for you guys. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that right now to start us off.
Sure.
Um, what
Yeah.
the what the whole publishing process was like for you guys.
I mean, the publishing process was super interesting. Because I mean, the writing process started out where we were originally writing it as a TV show, which was as like a form of writing I was very familiar with, and my mom was not familiar with at all. So it was a lot of me kind of showing her the ropes of television script writing. And then we decided, no, this should maybe be a book. And of course, my dad is super familiar with that because he's read about 4 billion books, I think. I was on his
Yeah,
Goodreads.
at last count, that's 4 billion.
Yeah, I think that's the right number at the moment. And my mom has a master's degree in creative writing, so she obviously knows what she's doing. So once we switched over to that, it became much more kind of coaching me. And, it was really a lot of the book came from just trying to, well, what could I write that would my dad would like to see, or that my mom would kind of be wowed by, or we're just trying to make each other laugh or go, oh, that's a cool scene. That oh man, if I was acting that part, that'd be really fun to do.
Yeah.
And then we finished the book, and it's like, all right, it's time to get into publishing. And then none of us had no idea what we were doing.
Well,
There
lost
was
sheep, Charles.
none of us could coach each other. We had no
Yeah.
information, and it all just became, this is terrifying, and we're just gonna have to grit our teeth and accept that we've got this very lucky position where we can talk to Jacqueline Hagan and Tori from Tori Talks and Philip Chase and all these wonderful people that helped us out. And there were many moments that was like
What do
just
we do?
full blown imposter syndrome of like, I have no
Yeah.
idea what to do and I shouldn't be here. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the coaching turned into, it's okay, we're going to get through it, instead of this is how you do this.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting process in a way that I think was really advantageous to have someone kind of in your court at all times.
Yeah, it definitely sounds that way. It's always good to have people going to bat for you and
Yeah.
Yeah.
helping
I
you
know
learn the
you feel that
ropes.
way too, right, Charles? You've been through this.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yep.
Yeah.
and it,
I've had a
yeah,
couple of
you know it
times
takes a
already.
village.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough without a team of supporters on your side. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
And
had
we,
some big ones too. If I remember right, you even got some input from Janny Words, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
that was,
was we were
I
still
will,
in the writing process, and that was I think about like the way that we had the story set up before we talked to Janny, and it's like it's like defining another age. There was before Janny and after
yes.
Janny of like when our writing got way better that
Yeah.
we were able to be coached by her.
Yeah.
And we did kind of between that, we felt, okay, well, I think we've crossed the finish line. This is kind of close to the story we want to tell. I think, and it's like let's go ahead and query, I guess, because like Jacob said, I mean, my Amy is a has a master's degree, and she went through a very prestigious program that turns out a lot of literary authors,
Hmm.
taught by a lot of literary authors, so she's like, here's the next step. This is what we do. This is so we did that. And of course, like everyone, we collect tons and tons of no's.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way the game is. And then we're kind of sitting back looking at this going, maybe we haven't crossed the finish line. Maybe, maybe with our experience, we've crossed the finish line. And just Janny was so giving and so graceful to take a look at some of what we had, and then spent some time with all three of us on the phone about, okay, are you, how much do you want to work? How hard do you want to work? And where do we want to get this? And I think Amy was the one that said, I'll work as hard as I need to. And it became a different thing. I mean, it's amazing to me how an artist of that magnitude can share to that level and truly make a difference in other creators' art and life. It was a stunning moment. I mean, it was really special for us.
Yeah, and I think just a huge lesson going forward that it's the project's really not done until you run out of people to talk to. Like there
Yep.
comes a point where you as a writer or writing team have maybe taken this project as far as you can right now, and then you show it to somebody and get their opinion and they teach you a new thing or something you should do differently, and then you have a whole new journey of now that I've learned this thing, I'm going to write it again and do this pass and then show it to somebody else. And once you run out of people to talk to and you're done learning what you can with this project, then maybe it's done rather
Yeah.
than, all right, that's the final page, we're done.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that
Yeah.
way.
Because after Janny, we had our developmental editor and then our copy editor. And then once again,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, yeah, you're not done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of work to go yet.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
Well, all the effort you put in and all the time spent in making those changes is very evident because it really was, I mean, for a debut novel, you don't often see the kind of quality that you guys put out.
Well, thank you.
So
That's
Oh
very
man, thank
kind.
you.
yeah, I haven't run into that very much, especially in now. I don't know if you guys would consider yourselves like hybrid publishers, self-publishers, indie. Um,
I'd say probably indie. We're
Yeah.
indie.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
self-published. We
yeah,
we did it ourselves. So I guess
Based
self-published
on all those
indie.
people that said no to our query, I'd say we're self-published.
Yeah.
I hear that. Well, yeah, I was just gonna say because in the self-published world, you don't often see a lot of that quality of work right off the bat. I was impressed with that with Philip Chase too. The Way of a Dan was just a banger
Oh yeah.
for a debut novel and still my favorite book in the series.
The
And
first one.
yeah, the
Yeah.
first one.
I
Yeah,
mean, you can see 20 years of work there. I mean, it
yeah.
shows, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I was reading your book, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be another another Philip Chase type of turnout, and
Oh man,
I think it succeeded.
what a
So
That's
compliment. Thank you.
yeah, that's enormously kind.
I
no,
think it's a shame that I mean, outside of the booktube community, everyone in the booktube community obviously knows how great self-pub can be because
Yeah.
they're around it so often. But I think there's still that feeling from a lot of people outside the community that self-pub is probably just a league below. You're not going to hit that tier of real great quality writing. And I just think it's a shame that people still think that way. And it was obviously, I think, a really big driving force for us being in self-pub. It's like if we want to be one of those examples that you could read a Philip Chase book and go, "Oh wow, this you can do it without the traditional publishing route." People
Yeah.
people are just that talented. Sometimes
Yeah.
there is a gatekeeper between art and audience that really lowers the amount of people that have access to great art, and this is the way to have a higher amount of access. So we
Yeah.
were highly motivated by that.
Yeah. And
That's
we aspired we've read some great indie stuff. I know you've read great indie stuff, Charles. And it's like we were inspired to be like, let's shoot for that if we can,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And who knows? Maybe we fail, but that's okay.
Yeah, but you got to shoot. You got to
Yeah,
take your shot.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it was excuse me. It was a really, really great book. And I'm honored that I was able to get an advance copy of it. And
Oh, of course.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that was great. And I want to ask a little bit about influences because I think one influence is very clear throughout this book, and that's the influence of cosmic horror, probably even more specifically Lovecraftian horror. You guys want to address that a little bit and talk about some of your other influences as well?
yeah. I mean, I oh man, how old was I when you read me Call of Cthulhu, Dad? Like 8?
Yeah, right around there, I think.
Right around
I
the
might
time
not
it's
be looking
like,
at Father of the Year for that.
yeah, right around the time it's like, you're maybe not old enough for that, but I loved it. I thought it
Yeah.
was just, I was taken by it immediately. So you've obviously been a fan of Lovecraft for a really long time and brought me into it at a super young age. And I think I had that journey in reading that most people often have, where you get into school and just stop. And right around the time that I was getting out of school, I picked up Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. It was just like, oh, this is it remains my favorite story of his. That just like there's so much here of the world and his ability to describe these things that they're so original to this day. The way that these bodies morph into things that we might not recognize and would become horrific. And those were the things that made me think like this is my original inspiration was I want there to be a way to get this onto the screen. That was the reason I
Yeah.
wanted it to be a TV show originally was that I also didn't like the stigma just like there is about self-pub. I didn't like that there was a stigma that oh, cosmic horror is not adaptable to the screen. It totally could be. A
Mhm.
True Detective exists and there could be a more horrific version of it too. It would totally work. You
Yeah.
just have to have a good script. This one happened to turn into a book, but maybe it'll be on the screen someday. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that
That
would be
would be
cool. But
very
it started out as a class project for you,
It
bud.
did,
Your
yeah.
script writing class. Yeah.
It just had to write a television pilot, and much like most things in my life, you came in as an inspiration, Dad. And one of the assignments for that class project was, all right, you've got this one episode. Now come up with your 5 season arc for the story. And I called my dad and said, I have no idea what happens in the rest of the show. And he gave me some ridiculous idea that I can't say what it is because book 3 hasn't come out yet. And I was like, that's
no
never going to
spoilers.
work. Yeah, no
Yeah.
spoilers, but
Yeah. That's crazy.
that's ridiculous. It is still in the series, so it will happen. But at the time, I thought it was insane. And just from there, it blossomed into a really cool family project that we did not think was going to be read by anybody for a long, long time.
Yeah, we just entertained ourselves with it. I mean, and that's what Lovecraft was for me. I mean, I don't know. Did you find Lovecraft young, Charles, or did you never kind of?
I found Lovecraft as an adult,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
I had never encountered anything from Lovecraft prior to probably. I want to say maybe age 25 or so. So,
Okay. I think I was in junior high, and it's strange. It's like it kind of goes in cycles. But the one thing my mom would never say no to, we lived in a very small town and we would have to drive 30, 40 miles to into the city to go to a bookstore. And she
yeah,
would never say no if I wanted books. And one time she drove me into a bookstore to get some books. And it's like, it was one of those turns of the wheel, one of those times when kind of Lovecraft was kind of catchy again, like a little bit in vogue again. And like
yeah.
there was like re-releases, all these paperback re-releases of a lot of these stories. And it had like these amazing, disgusting covers. And I was like, I want that. I want to try that. And I was a junior high, and it's like from then on, I was smitten. It was like, and then I kind of started looking into him as a person, and there's definitely some things there not, you know, to follow, but
Right.
but I was really struck by his work and how he would create this entire pantheon and this entire subgenre, and then he would open it up to his friends and his peers and says, "Here's the sandbox. Here's the do what you want, play with it." And
Mhm.
I thought that was such an interesting like thing to do for an artist to just go, go crazy, go nuts. Let's see what happens if you put your spin on some of this stuff. So it's like I always loved that. And when Jacob did the school project, it was like, oh, this is this is exactly what he told people to do. So let's really go all in and jump in with both feet and do it. So yeah, I mean, it is deeply, deeply influenced by uh some of the stuff he initially laid down, but we tried to make it. If you've never read it, if you know absolutely nothing about it, it still works. You don't have to go in knowing anything. Now, if you are deep into it, you might like recognize some nods and some things, but if you
Yeah,
aren't into it, you're just going to go, what the heck is happening here? That was our goal anyway.
Yeah, hopefully. And I mean, talking about like being influenced by such a flawed person that like his flaws in his stories also directly influence some things in our stories. Like
mhm,
he's so much xenophobia and racism and all kinds of phobias and horrific ideals that are in his stories. But a lot of that was the reason that we came at this story thinking, well, we want to have a representation of different types of people in this story. We want this to be a global reaction to what would happen if there was this discovery. And from that, we always talk about making things doing double duty. It's like, well, if you have these multicultural people, what does cosmic horror mean to these other cultures? Like the idea of this fear that I am infinitesimally small and therefore cannot have any purpose in the cosmos because I'll never have high enough knowledge to understand what my purpose is, or these big machinations above me that would just crush me if I knew them. Like, what does that idea mean to somebody that is not American and has not been raised the same way that I have? How does that compute to other people? And from that came a lot of, well, let's work in this folklore and let's talk about how this religion would react. And I think a lot of that is some of the things that make me super excited about our story, is the research that mom did with that and where it's all going.
Yeah, yeah, and that plays a huge part going forward. But
Yeah.
the I would say the other like two other really influences that I would have to say is Amy and I both when we were young were big Stephen King readers. So
uh-huh,
there's some tension and some pace and some dialogue uh, that we hope mirrors that, because we both, I think that both got us into reading at a very early age because we found him kind of at the same time when
yeah,
we were in junior high. And the other real thing is just structure wise. Amy and I both are huge fans of David Mitchell. And
okay,
when we started to think about putting this together in a way and how it would work, we were kind of looking at how epic fantasy is put together as you go all over the map with different POVs, and also how a kaleidoscopic narrative is put together at like David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas, where it's
yeah,
like, how do these pieces fit? How do they nest together? How does this puzzle fall and sync together? And part of that mystery of that keeps you turning some pages, and then hopefully there's a moment towards the end where it all like does kind of fit together. So those were two other like really really big influences. And then I think Jacob would say probably Martin McDonagh is a filmmaker because he is a filmmaker, and a lot of the visual things that he would come to us with storyboards or things like this of how he saw scenes probably were influenced by filmmakers.
Well,
Mm.
Martin McDonagh is a big one for like dialogue and write. I like his writing style. Just scratches my back every time I read it. It's so perfect, and everything is paced in a way that like the jokes land as if the syllables are meant to hit a certain way. It's amazing to read his dialogue, but a lot of the actual like visionary stuff that I always see, I there's actually like one specific movie called Perfect Blue that I think about maybe once a week. There have even been times where like we're writing a scene and I'll show mom a clip from Perfect Blue and go, make it like that. The hand moves this way, or whatever scene it's from. That all those trippy psychedelic things I love to steal from and kind of twist and make do something different.
That's really cool. Would you say that that if you were ever able to get an adaptation, would you want him directing?
Oh, Martin McDonagh?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Actually, that might be the coolest thing ever,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
he usually always writes his own stuff. But
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
if we
Got
lived in some bizarro world where Martin McDonagh wanted to have anything to do with this, we could all just like never have to pick up a pen again. Like we would be
Yeah.
done.
right. No, that's really cool. I can definitely see the David Mitchell influences with the way you structured the book. In my personal opinion, you made it more enticing than Mitchell does. I really struggled with Cloud Atlas, but I did not struggle much with yours at all. But I can definitely see the influence. He has a very unique approach to structure.
Oh, his mind works in such a way that he's truly special. I had the same problems. Like Amy pushed it onto me and said you have to read this, and it's like in the beginning and like in the first couple sections. I mean, it would make me angry. You know, like I don't want to leave Frobisher. What is he doing? What's his, and it's like, and I fully understand if people have that reaction to Discovery because you're leaving, right around the time you kind of get your teeth sunk into somebody, you start to move away. So it's like I totally get it and I totally understand. But then there was that moment in Cloud Atlas to me that I was like, oh, he's a genius. That's I was supposed to be. He's done this to me. His art has affected me on to this level. Like it was a completely mind expanding and eye opening thing for me when it finally sunk in and hit. So, not that I think ours does all that, but it's like that for I totally get it was a struggle. In the beginning, oh, I struggled so hard.
Yeah.
I may have to give it another shot then, because I actually DNF'd it. I was struggling through those first two sections, and it was almost unreadable for me, so I just put it down. But
I'm right there with you. I think I've
that
unsuccessfully tried to
promise
read
too
that
much.
book like 3 or 4 times. I have not. I'm
It is
sure it's
divisive.
great. I'm
It
sure it's
is.
great.
The movie's great though.
The
The
movie is
movie is
does
great.
is an amazing love letter to the book. They did such a great job.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like, Jacob, that you did a lot of the initial writing on this. Would you say that would you say that you did the bulk of the writing, or did John and Amy do a lot of the writing as well with it, or how did that work?
It's kind of switched around a lot throughout the process. I mean, it's definitely the bulk of the writing absolutely goes to my mom without
Yeah.
question.
Oh
The
wow,
the
that's
the
awesome.
genius of the prose is absolutely her. Like my dad says all the time she is his favorite writer of all time. She may be mine as well. She's brilliant.
That's awesome. I love it.
I mean the when it was originally a TV show, yeah, I wrote that script and my professor didn't like it. So I came home and was like very self-conscious. And I knew my parents would be honest with me because they're artists too. So I told them, like, hey, can you tell me if this sucks? And they said, no, it doesn't suck. It's clear that you were at school and you didn't probably have the proper time to commit to this and make it as good as you can. But my mom fell in love with one character. My dad fell in love with a certain event, and we just kind of started working together from there. And it used to be early in the process that my mom and I would sit down when I didn't have a job or anywhere to go. I would sit in one desk and she would sit at the desk next to me, and it was like we clocked in for 6 hours and wrote next to each other. And
Oh,
she would be writing one chapter and I would be writing the chapter that came after that. And then she would write the next and I would write the one after that. And we would just kind of trade back and forth. So that there was once upon a time a moment where it was 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And then I got a job and then I
And then
moved
life
out
happened.
and then, you get engaged and things happen. But yeah, a bulk of the writing absolutely goes to my mom. She's incredible.
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, she definitely sounds like it. So that's really awesome. And to be able to have that bonding time of writing together, I bet that was huge.
Oh yeah. I mean, she, like my dad said, she went to that master's program and I had never really put in true effort to try and write in prose before and, put in everything I could into creative writing. I'd never really done a project like that. And I was super nervous about it. So all that time that I was just kind of clocking in next to each other was really more like I would sit next to her and just like do this and look over at what she's doing and try and learn as much as I can just by watching her. And that was it was like a crash course on creative writing. It was
Yeah.
I'll
There were the
cherish that
amazing
time.
the amazing thing as parents is like to watch his journey too, like from where he started and then to where I mean, because the book gets pretty weird, there's some weird, Charles, it gets weird. And
Yep.
there's some weird moments where Amy would send, okay, Jacob, go upstairs. This is all you, man. I'm not even quite sure. Because Amy is of the three of us, not a big cosmic horror fan. So
Okay.
a
No.
lot of this project was her trying to come to terms with the form and what it means, and how it works and how it can be exciting to her. And so we would get some of the weird parts, and it's like, okay, Jacob, you this is you. Bring me back something because
Mhm.
and he would come, further down in the process, he would come back downstairs with some stuff, and we would be like, what's this kid's got hiding something upstairs? Like this is out there. And this is so to see him like blossom and go on that journey was so amazing for us as parents. It was really cool.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like with the some of the wild stuff and everything, then she kind of brought in that balancing aspect of keeping it a little bit more grounded, and you still had the fantastical and supernatural, but there's the grounding aspect as well.
I would say, I mean, wouldn't you say, Jacob, like as
Oh
far as
yeah.
the characters having cultural ties and familial ties that push their motivations and make them do what they do and have an arc that resolves all of that and they're each different, all of that literary background that she brought to it just made it something different, like
But I think also on top of that, like there's the one skill that she's always had before she even went to that program that she's so good at creating singular voices for people. She's
oh,
always
she's the
been good
queen of
at that.
voice. Yeah.
And to me, that's the thing that grounds it. That's the thing that makes it, oh, I'm reading the thoughts and dialogue for real people. And that makes it feel like, oh, this is a global catastrophe. This is a real person that goes home and sleeps at night and gets up just like everybody else.
Hmm.
That's the thing that makes me feel like, oh, the cultural stuff is flavor, but
Yeah.
that's the actual meal, is that these people talk like people.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, the characters felt very well realized. I was very impressed. They didn't seem, all of these are just like the others. They felt very unique in their own aspect, and I really appreciated that.
Well, that's
Well,
amazing to hear
thank
I'm a
you.
because
big I'm a big character guy. I love characters.
yeah, and we took some big swings. There's some wacky characters in there.
Yeah,
So
there
that's
are.
awesome to hear.
Yeah, I love the characters, and that's definitely something I want to talk about too, is some of the characters. but I did want to also touch on your theater background.
Mm,
I don't know if you have theater background as well, Jacob. I know John and Amy do, and I know
I
that, or at least I felt like that was a big influence because I mean you've got the
huge.
book set up in different acts, and you've got the kind of like you felt like the final curtain calls and things like that. So tell me a little bit about that.
You want to go first, Bud, with your experience?
Yeah, I think the only like true theater experience I have is I read a play with you once.
Yeah.
Uh and we never actually did the play because I don't think you or I wanted to.
Well, I
It
mean,
was the
yeah,
only time that I felt like, oh,
I don't
this
think it
is
got produced. It was an
oh, did
unpublished.
it not? Okay.
Yeah, I think the playwright was looking to hear it as they were working on it, and so we got called in to read it for her.
Yeah.
Great friend of ours, and I don't think it ever got. It might have got produced years later. She's a successful player. She's had quite a few things produced, and it's just like,
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
yeah, during that time, I just don't think you want to do a play at all, and I don't know if
No.
it was a Christmas show, so I don't know if that was my bag at the moment, but that is the one thing we did together. But I will say theater is a huge influence, a huge background. That's where Amy and I first met building a theater company together.
I
That's where we
remember you
met.
saying that, yeah.
That's how we came together. And when it came, even working on this, there were several moments. I can't remember exactly how many where this the scene's not quite working, or I don't quite hear this character voice in this moment or something. And we would do improv. I'd say, give me a couple minutes, and I'd come back in, and I would just lay out a bunch of dialogue and improv some stuff. And if it was near or close, they bring out a recorder and record it, and that so there was definite, not only Jacob using storyboards to show us how he was picturing scenes, but there were certain theater games that we would use to play to get into the characters' heads and come up with dialogue and things and stuff of that nature. And then the structure of the book being in 5 acts and all that, of course, is a nod to our theater background a little bit. So I would, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it's a big influence for sure.
There were also like moments that I had to play catch up because it's weird to think that like your parents have such a long life before you even existed, but
Get used to it.
yeah, I know. It, it really showed when like we're all three of us are writing this book together and you and mom are working like you've been working together for decades, which you have. It's like, oh, I'm the new guy. Now I understand. And that, we're building this scene together and you look at mom and say, "Oh, it's use this character as an archetype from this Russian play from way back when." And like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You're gonna have to explain this to me because I'm lost. But the two of you just run at it.
That's
So
awesome. I bet it's awesome to watch them work, be a
Oh
fly on
yeah.
the wall.
It's like two people sharing the same brain. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so.
yeah.
So I have something that was kind of in my head when I was reading those initial scenes in Howard's office and with
Mhm.
Nessa, and I felt like, and I don't know if this influenced you guys at all, but I felt like I was in the newsroom of the Daily Planet with Perry White from the 80s. I don't know, but it felt like that's the picture I had in my mind, except instead of Perry, it was Howard, and instead of Lois Lane, it was Nessa or whatever. So I don't know if that was intentional or an influence there, but that's how it felt to me, and I just loved every minute of it. That whole first section there where they were in the newsroom and picking things apart and looking over the microfiche or whatever and trying to, you know, clean up the audio and video so they could play it. It was just a masterpiece. I was glued to it.
Man, that was not one of our original inspirations for them, but that's so interesting that
But
you,
I love it. I'm a comics fan,
yeah,
so I absolutely love that. I
that's
love
really
it.
cool.
And I'm so glad you like that part, Charles, because that part came together so late. Like we worked so many different angles on that to get it
Yeah.
right. Like it did
Yeah.
not get right until the very end.
Okay. Interesting. Well, it definitely worked, and I'm glad. I think it fit very well as the opening chapters of the book. I think it worked really well with that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I think we went through like 12 different ways to open the book and
Yeah.
not one of
Seriously.
them worked except for this
No.
one. So I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah, me too.
It was a very good hook. Very good hook.
That's what we were hoping. We kind of like, okay, let's launch it with kind of like a thriller feel. So it's got like a hook,
Hmm.
the mystery and the thriller feel. And then, and as that structure we were talking about earlier, it's like there's some tone shifts and some narrative shifts as you move on through the book. But we wanted to have like a, ooh, let's go all in pace thriller feel at the beginning, and with some cosmic weirdness in there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you did really well with it. It kept me hooked. There was kind of an element when you go into Cosmic Horror and you kind of know what you're going to expect, but you also don't know what to expect. And so watching them piece everything together and you threw some curveballs there, and I'm like, oh wow, I like how that was done. So yeah,
No, thank you. That's
yeah,
awesome.
Perfect. I,
good.
I love that feeling in cosmic horror, so I'm really glad we captured that.
You
Yeah.
really did. Yeah. And the book incorporates a lot of genres. There's just so many different you've got your cosmic horror, you've got your slice of life and things like that. How did you decide which genres were essential to pull from?
Ooh, that's a
Hmm.
good question.
That's a really good question. I
I
think
don't.
some genres just had to be there because there's seeds we lay in book one that even at the end of book one can be like, I'm not quite sure where that's going or what but we got to have it. Like we have to have that because it does move everything down the road. So we had to have certain genres for certain parts that might seem weird. Um, like a genre blend, like, oh, I don't why you wouldn't have to go there, but it's like, nah, we kind of do to make it all go to where it's going.
Yeah.
But then the other ones, I'm what do you think? But the other ones, I think a lot, mom likes to challenge herself and she would get to a different section. And it's like, I want to go tonally this just for maybe like a little different feel or just a challenge or see what I can do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was ever a time that any genre was really off the table. Like
Yeah.
there's even comedies in there. Like there are scenes that are just full-blown horror, and then 30 pages later, there's a joke. That
Mm.
happens a lot. Um, but the Tony act is one that specifically comes to mind that I know mom wrote and said at the beginning, okay, this one we're gonna do like Victorian era, like Gothic prose, and really make this house feel like of that time, you know.
Mm.
And that was like, oh, that's interesting, and it kind of structured the way that we worked with the rest of them. That okay, what flavor is it going to be this time? What kind of story do we want to tell with this one? That a lot of it was just fun. That
Yeah.
what archetypes can we put into this to make it fun to read in a way that oh that's a little spin on an interesting way to tell this story to add this little flavor on top of it or add this genre in there or toss this blend that I think just kind of entertained us. I don't know that a ton of it was planned to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Charles, so much of this was just us sitting around a table trying to entertain the other two.
Except for the things like you're talking about, Dad. It's like, well, you kind of have to bleed a little bit into cyberpunk for a moment because we have to
Yeah.
get to point B.
Yeah.
Those big swings like that, like if you break down Discovery into, there's some sci-fi, there's some horror, there's some cyberpunk, there's the strong notes in there are there for a specific reason, but then you
Yeah.
break it down into well, okay, these little journals are gonna turn into a love story, or we're gonna go gothic for a little bit, or we're gonna do this. Those were just, that sounds fun. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And I think ultimately genres are just a thing that we use to interpret stories, but in reality, stories are just what they are. And you know,
Absolutely.
we
Could
can,
Absolutely.
not
we can
agree
try
more.
and box them in, but that never does it justice anyway, really. It is what it.
Right. It's just it's something so people know what shelf to put it on in
Yeah.
a store. And sometimes you find the best stuff on shelves that you don't normally shop at. So it's like it's just
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know. People ask us like how would you uh qualify this? Like what genre would you put it in? It's like I don't, it's hard. I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
Definitely cosmic horror, but there's some, like Jacob said, there's some thriller and some sci-fi, some, it's got a lot of chunks in there.
And I've heard a lot of like interviews from directors and stuff that feel the same way. They don't like hearing the genre question of what genre is your movie, or authors, what genre is your book. It's like, well, I don't. If you were to put it on a shelf that says sci-fi, I'd kind of go, well, no, not quite. If you were to put it on a shelf that says thriller, I'd go, well, not quite either, because it has X, Y, and Z. That
Hmm.
I feel like when we write the story, it just feels like, well, what would happen next? And that's dictated, not the genre dictating what happens next. It's just what would happen next with these characters in the situation. It's just a story.
Right. I love that. I think that's really good. Yeah, the story itself dictates the direction it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But
I love
and
it.
you work with Amy, you have to, because she's one of those kind of writers where she'll just
Oh
start hearing
man.
voices, And it's like it doesn't matter what kind of outline you have. She'll come at you with, I don't know who this character is, but just started talking to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Uh,
fantastic.
it's the
Much to
most
Jacob's.
frustrating. It's the most frustrating thing to ask your writing partner. Well, who is this whole new person you've created? And they go, I don't know. Figure it out. Like, well, I don't know what to do either. So it's kind of on you.
Do you guys have a basic outline or rough drafts of all five books?
Yeah, we do.
Hmm.
Nice.
I mean, we accidentally wrote book three first, so we better know what's coming.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
we
That's
did write
great.
book. We wrote book three first, and it's like, this makes no sense. You can't start with this.
This is unreadable. This.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. I loved all the themes that you guys explored too, racism and cultural and societal crises and just so many different things. There was a little bit of familial estrangement in there
Oh
with,
yeah.
Nessa and
Hmm.
her dad, and just so much there. And I don't know if the themes were intentional or if kind of like with genre they just kind of fell into place as the story flowed together. But I'd love to hear more about how you explored that and the tensions you kind of wrestled with there.
I Go
Yeah,
ahead, Jacob.
that one's pretty much opposite. If there's a theme somewhere, it was there was some 2 hour conversation about why it should be there. There,
Yeah,
all
nice.
of those were very carefully placed. And I mean, like I was saying earlier about doing double duty, there were any time that it was like, well, can we work in some father issues or mom issues or some weird family estrangement? It's like the do double, squeeze that in everywhere you can. We want that to be a big theme throughout the series.
Yeah,
Parentage and hereditary trauma is a big thing that we're trying to talk about through the stories. But
Yeah,
all of
it's
that very carefully
Howard
planned.
Winfield and his daughter, Oliver
right.
Dawson, his daughter, uh,
Hmm.
uh,
Tony
Sorrow
and
and
his
his
whole
children,
family. Yeah,
Tony
Sorrow
and
and his
his entire
children.
family, Sorrow and
Right.
his children. When you find out close to the end, it's like that should be woven in there many, many, many times. Yeah.
I should have asked her. Are we doing spoilers? Sorry, Chaz.
You can. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yep.
was going to leave that up to you guys. If you want to talk spoilers, you definitely can. Oh, my, Sorrow. I love that character. And we still we still need to know more because I'm just gonna, by the end of the book I was like, okay, I need to know Sorrow more. I need to find out what his thing is because
Yeah. Well, you will definitely find out more.
good,
There is
Yeah.
more to know.
Yeah, I can promise you that.
good.
But yeah, no, and then the themes of um just yeah, as far as things falling apart, we don't need a big bad thing sleeping in the ocean. We can do it just fine ourselves.
Right.
We that was a big one for us.
Yeah.
I mean, the
But
themes
yeah,
of like finding your own false comforts and answering the questions of the universe, and how many questions can science answer? How many questions can religion answer? Are either of them able to completely provide stability and purpose just on their own? Or the few that come to mind that we always talk about when we're trying
yeah.
to build the larger story.
And then
Yeah.
with the addition of the world box connect, what makes, cosmic horror will always say, "Oh, you are but ants, and you cannot understand." But we wanted to kind of put a spin on that with the world box, and that, okay, but what about the connection that we share? And what if it were to go all the way back through generations? And doesn't that somewhat make us a little bit more than just mortal in this one window? And so it's like there's a lot of questions about connection in there. But I mean, Jacob's right. When you talk about themes, like that was like meeting one, when we roll out the big butcher paper and we all just start writing stuff that we want in there. All the
Mhm.
themes were a big part of that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I really loved, kind of talking to your point, Jacob. I loved how you guys really dealt with the darkness of humanity. No matter no matter whether we're faced with a world-ending possibility or just our day-to-day lives, the way the darkness of humanity plays into every aspect of that, and a lot of humans get even more self-serving if there's the potential that there's this great beast under the water waiting to devour us. And uh, there were some pretty dark characters in this book, and I loved it. I thought it worked really well.
Oh, good. And
Yeah.
many more to come. It makes me excited to say.
I mean, some of our favorite characters haven't even shown up yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the exciting part for us. We can't wait to get to them. But yeah, it's I love that part about cosmic horror too, right? Those questions of that. And I think when we get to the end of book one, we kind of try and peel back a little bit of, do we even have a say about what makes us dark? Do we even have a say about what makes us flawed as a society? Or is this something we have to overcome because it's baked in the cake? So it's like we tried to get a little bit of that in there by the end. So it's I mean, yeah, there's so much in there. I just hope some of it lands.
Yeah. Well,
That
it,
is
it
that,
definitely did for me, and I'm looking forward to more. I really am.
oh, thank you, Jazz.
I did want to talk a little bit about some of the characters. And you were talking earlier about how this was originally kind of a script for a movie, and so it seems it actually seems well designed for multiple media formats. And I was wondering if you cast the characters as you were writing them.
We did actually.
Yeah.
That was something that really helps when you're writing with other people and you're creating new characters is, well, we have this person, and in my head I know what their voice sounds like, I know what they look like, I know how they walk or they pick something up, I know all their little movements and quirks. Um, but my writing partners need to know that too. So just as we had long meetings talking about the themes, we would sit down in front of, our laptops and phones and go, well, what about this actor? What about this actor? So there is a lot of it I don't remember, but there is a piece of paper somewhere that says like the actor of every single character that we have.
Yeah. And some of them are this actor, but 20 years ago, or,
Right, yeah.
yeah.
Sure, that makes sense. Are you able to talk about some of the character inspirations?
Ooh, man, I always forget the name
Yeah,
of the
me
person
too.
that we picked for Manny.
Just a
Oh, who did we pick for me?
question.
Who did you pick for me? This was
Um,
more you and a mom thing than
yeah,
as far as the
mom found
casting
him.
goes.
I
I,
was curious about Manny for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'll have to find the actor after this. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Um, There's an actor I have always personally liked, um, for Sorrow, actually.
Oh, yes.
Amazing. I now I can't remember his name either, but I remember what movie he was in, so I got to look at it. Tony Todd. I
Oh, yeah.
Tony Todd, but an early Tony Todd, or I would say right
right.
now, Jeffrey Wright could tear up Sorrow.
Jeffrey Wright could
Oh,
tear up
Jeffrey
Sorrow
Wright would
too.
be amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tony Todd wasn't he the original
Candyman.
Candyman?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, Tony, I could see Tony Todd. I could also see I Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeffrey Wright.
I
Jeffrey
think
Wright would kill it
he's
too.
doing a great
yeah.
job there. Yeah. Funny enough, uh, the nun, and I can't remember her name right now.
Sister
Sister
Mary.
Mary.
Sister Mary, thank you. Yeah. So the whole time I was reading her, I don't know if you know who Kate Dickey is, but the whole time I was reading her, I had Kate Dickey in my head. Kate Dickey played Lysa Arryn in Game of Thrones,
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's
and
good.
she also played General Dox on Loki. And she's a Scottish actress, so that part wouldn't necessarily work. But Scottish
Yeah,
is in the realm of
it's
Irish.
in the area. It's in the area.
Hmm.
So I immediately she popped into my head the instant I started reading Sister Mary, and I'm like, wow. Uh,
Think there's an actress from what's that show Dairy
Dairy Girl.
Girls?
Yeah, it's Siobhan McSweeney is who we had her
oh
cast
yeah,
as.
I just started watching Dairy Girls with my partner actually. So
Yeah.
cool. Okay, I'll have to look out for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta start like a whole. Now I want to know who everyone would cast them as in their
Yeah,
head.
isn't that cool? Like that's awesome.
I kind of
I
hinted at it earlier with Howard. I would probably, I feel like he's kind of a Perry White type of person, but more ruthless and self-serving maybe than Perry White is.
definitely. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
definitely.
but
I just love that people find it um kind of visual enough to where they think of people. That's for me like that's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
yes,
So, yeah, that feels great.
yeah.
I know
Are
that
there
remember there was
any?
someone for Howard Winfield. I can't remember who that was though.
Oh, you did
Tracy
have someone
Letts.
for him.
Tracy
Okay,
Letts, that's who it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
who was it?
Tracy Letts. He plays Ford in Ford v Ferrari, if you've seen that one.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. No. Okay, I'll have to look him up. Tracy Letts.
Google it. Google it, Chaz.
Yeah, I definitely will. Um, are there any personal experiences that impacted the telling of this story for you guys?
There was for me. Um, I don't know if there was for you or mom. I'm sure there was. Oh, there definitely was for mom. Now that I think about it, for
Hmm.
me, a lot of Oliver Doss I really attached to. In a kind of ironic way, like through writing this book, I had tons and tons and tons of imposter syndrome of like, I've never written in prose. Who am I to write this? I don't, I'm not skilled enough to be writing with the likes of my mom, and I'm still learning it. Just the things that I think every writer tells themselves when they, are having a bad day.
Every
Yeah,
artist. Yeah.
Every artist, yeah, for sure. Um, and Oliver Doss, I originally was a very different, like Steve Jobs kind of character, like this larger than life guy. And we kind of revamped things and didn't like that direction anymore. And it was a task given to me that like, well, just find out who Doss is. And I started like writing in a journal as Oliver Doss. I kept a journal and I would just write it in every day. And I kind of recreated him as this like small, slender, very socially awkward and like low self-esteem kind of guy that I
mm,
think was just my way to get out how I was feeling about myself at the moment that I
wow.
didn't feel experienced enough to be doing the things that I was doing. And Doss being in a similar situation with having this project that he feels such a life attachment to, that this is his life's work and he's so excited to be doing it, and then he has this genius next to him that's just
Right.
running away with it, and he's got no choice but to let them do it because they're doing great. What are you going to stop that?
Yeah.
So a lot of DOS I felt a really strong connection to.
That's really deep. And I really liked Oliver Doss too. And
Oh,
I
good.
related to him a lot in similar ways. So it's interesting to hear you talk about him and
Yeah.
inspiration. That's great.
That being said, Doss does say some really stupid things that
He does. Yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't quite
he gets
attach
foot and
myself
mouth
to.
syndrome quite a bit.
Yeah, but he means well.
Yeah, he's doing the best with the cards
He's
he was dealt.
he's doing the best he can.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to maybe see some more bonding opportunities with Nessa to kind of rediscover that father-daughter relationship that he could have had with her and maybe explore what that looks like now that they're adults and you know to and also for him to form a real bond with the genius that you mentioned that's working with him and uh, I mean, I know at one point he scares her off, but I think they're going to have a really good working relationship as things progress.
Yeah, they were the one I was talking about earlier that was mom actually had the epiphany. She DOS wasn't working. Our developmental editor was telling us like you may have to cut DOS. It's just not working. And we
Yeah,
didn't know why. And my mom had the epiphany. Oh, it's a love story. DOS and
it's a
Lucia
yeah,
needs to be a love story.
yeah,
Mm.
a father-daughter type of love story.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, kind of approaching her the way he wished he had approached Nessa,
Exactly,
Yeah.
taking her under
exactly.
his wing, and yeah,
Another chance, right?
Hmm.
yeah, that's fantastic. I really like that angle, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited for a lot of things coming up. It seems pretty clear that there's a secret organization operating in key areas like the government and the church and things like that. Kind of like, I don't know, I felt like almost an Illuminati of sorts, but more toward, um, oh, more toward a cult of sorts, even. Uh,
Oh yeah, with the Providence Group.
yeah, the Providence Group. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
definitely get deeper into the Providence group for
Oh,
sure.
They
that's great.
they
I'm
have
so
plenty of things
excited.
to do.
I
Yeah.
love deep lore like that, and you know, the more you read, the more it opens up the lore, and I'm just yeah, I love that. So I'm excited for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Oh
That
yeah.
that makes me happy.
Yeah. You got more of that coming for sure.
That's great. And I'm also really excited. You really basically touched on AI and early explorations of AI, and I thought that was really fascinating to see what people are doing with AI in the 90s. And you kept it really uh, you kept it very believable. You know, a lot of people might say, "Oh, they're not doing much with AI in the 90s." Oh, they were. It's just you know,
Didn't quite look the same.
it didn't
Yeah.
look the same. And I love that you kind of gave us a window into that with a little bit more technology than maybe they would have had in the 90s, just to kind of push the envelope just a little, but
Yeah.
not quite so much that it didn't feel believable. What
Yeah.
was the research like for you guys on that in terms of
Ooh,
exploring that?
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
I'm
was
I'm really glad you said it was believable because that
yes.
was one thing that we really struggled with was how do we explain the way that this AI works to people? And our beta reader through a lot of the really early drafts and later drafts was my grandfather, who was like, I once changed his iPhone to flash the flashlight every time he got a text message, and he never knew how to turn it off. So the
Yeah.
explaining AI to him was a feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or we had another beta reader very early on that just reads really like Amy's best friend, and she reads nonfiction. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, if we can get her to go with us with some of these steps and some of these things, like we know we're probably pretty close, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it was that tightrope to walk because we're starting back in the 90s and it should be a very recognizable world, But because of the inciting incident of what is discovered, like technology is going to go a different way as a response to it. So it
Hmm.
has to start to kind of branch off from that world we know. And by the end of book one, it should still be very recognizable. And yet at the same time, you feel like, oh, I'm in a definite fabulous type of world.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
I mean, similar to like what happened during the pandemic. Like no one really knew Zoom existed before March of 2020. And
Hmm.
you know, video conferencing kind of took a huge turn after that. That after there was this big discovery and global meltdown, suddenly there may be more need for people to share large files over the internet and have communication across continents and have that type of technology develop more quickly and maybe in a bit of a different direction too.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And they've got Lucia kind of right at the helm of like, you know, uh just taking the software and stuff like that in huge leaps and directions uh that Oliver wouldn't have even dreamed of. And
No.
um yeah.
And Sorrow had a chunk of that too. Sorrow had a
Oh,
little
yeah.
input there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
bit of a nudge.
Little nudge.
Yeah.
Little magical nudge.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited. Was there anything else you guys wanted to share about the book? I know we're getting close to the time where we need to wrap up, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to share with the audience any last thoughts and that you'd like to get out there.
What do you got, Dad?
Oh, you're gonna make me go for it. You know what? This is the thing that really hits me, Charles, is that um I love that the whole journey has been amazing, and every time someone finds something that they enjoy or connect with, it's like that feeling. It's like you
Yeah.
feel like you just hit it out of the park.
Hmm.
But coming back to the table to start working on book two, and it's like, the special time that people will buy the ticket and they'll sit down and they'll decide what it is we created. That's their job. But
Yeah.
our job, that's us right here in this room, is just to entertain each other and have fun. And if all three of us do a chunk and look at it and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. I just think it's been such an amazing family journey for us to kind of do this together. And I just think at the end, when I'm on a rocking chair on some porch somewhere, that's the thing that no one will be able to take from us, is that those moments of when one of us gets it and the other two go, yes, that is it, and just those just such an amazing special time for Amy to know what she was doing and put a writer's room together, and all of us work together. It was really something special. And I think coming back, getting the wheels rolling again for book two has just really made me realize that.
That's awesome. Love to hear that.
Oh man, I shouldn't have asked you to go first. Now I got to follow that. I mean, I of course echo everything that you said. In a similar vein, I'll say that to everyone that has bought and read it so far, and
Oh,
you, of course, as well, Chaz. Thank you so much for reading it. And I,
it's surreal.
yeah,
I mean, you know exactly, Charles. Like it's hard to even put words to it.
yeah.
It really is. I agree.
If from now until the end of time, no one bought another book, I would still look back and go, "That was cool. I had a great time with that."
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah. So
Thank
thanks
you for your
everyone,
comment.
and thank you so much, Chaz, for having us
Yeah,
and for reading the book and asking such great questions. It was
yeah.
such
This was amazing. You
yeah,
you came in you came in firing, man. That was
yeah,
awesome.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed the questions. Yeah, I tried to put together some good questions that we could kind of open things up with and get some good insight. So I'm glad. I'm glad that worked out well. And I'm just, I'm really excited. No pressure. I'm not gonna do a George R. R. Martin fan thing with you guys, like like he gets. And when's the next book? Why haven't you written it? But I will say I'm really excited
We're
to.
working on it. We
we're
are
getting
hard at
there.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are pages being stacked.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. Well, I just want to thank you guys again. And for those of you who have not encountered Jacob and John, I want to really encourage you to check out Talking Story on YouTube. All the links are going to be down in the description where you can find these guys. And every single time I watch a video of theirs, the camaraderie that they have between each other, the love for each other that they obviously have as father and son, but you can tell that there's more than just that. There's a friendship there, and I just every chance I get when I tune into their channel, I just absolutely have so much fun watching that bond happen, and they talk about some great books and they have some great insights into books. So please check out their channel, and until next time, make sure you guys read more books, and I will talk to you very soon. John and Jacob, thanks again.
Dude, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
man.
Charles, so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.